This is your control panel. The only appliance that will work without the control panel on is the fridge. That has its own power supply, but everything else, heating, hot water, lighting, etc., requires the power to be on. So does the electric drop-down bed. Once the power is on, this will operate the mood lighting above the cab, and this will operate the light above the outside door. Now, there are various light switches around the van. This one down by the door operates the internal light. So the idea is that when you go out at night, that you leave the power on at the control panel, and that light switch will then work, and it operates a light just above the door there. Next to that is the electric step, by the way, for manually deploying the step. And below the cupboard on the right hand side there's a light switch here. The left hand switch operates mood lighting, and the right hand switch operates under cabinet lighting. And you've got a USB there as well, and a separate switch in the kitchen area to operate this light. Outside the bathroom you've got a switch there just by the fridge. And finally, when the bed is down, you've got a little reading light there. So when you go to bed, leave the control panel power on, turn off all the other lights using the switches, and then this one will still work. If you turn the control panel off, you'll have no light to get into bed with. This button on the control panel with the tap symbol, that's your water pump. So you're going to need that on in order to get flow of water to your kitchen and bathroom sinks, to your shower, and to your water flush. So for those functions, just turn it on like that. And when you're done with your shower or your basins, just turn it back off again like that, so it stays off when you don't need water flowing. Right hand side here, you've got this button in the middle with 3 bars that cycles around your water and battery levels. So at the moment we're showing that the fresh tank is 75% full and your waste tank, which is your grey water, is empty. Push that button again and it cycles around different functions. This one is just to select the engine battery to run things off, which we only do in emergencies. Then you can change the clock. Tells you what the control panel is. And then more usefully, it now shows the leisure battery voltage. Now this will show that it's charging if you're charging from the hookup or the solar panel. Push again and it shows the vehicle battery. Now both vehicle and leisure battery will charge when you're driving, and the leisure battery will charge when you're hooked up, and if you're not hooked up it should charge from the solar panel as well. So power isn't really something you need to worry about on this vehicle. Above the fridge you'll find your heating and hot water controllers. Now to get any heating or hot water you're going to need to turn the power on, so make sure that's on, and then do a little wave to let you know that they are receiving power, but they're not on at the moment. After a few seconds those lights will disappear. There we are. Now to wake these up you just wave at them and up they come. The one on the left is your heating. Now to turn up the heating we're going to push the plus button. You'll see at the moment that we've got a frost protect and a moon symbol. That means essentially it's off, it's on frost protect setting. So first of all we're going to choose the temperature and you just push plus until you've got some bars showing, and that's the way you control the heating. There's no centigrade reading or anything, it's just plus and minus to turn the temperature up or down. Once we've done that we need to tell it if we want to operate on gas or electricity. So if we're going to work on gas, we push that one. It goes blue, indicating that it's working on gas or it's firing up. When that goes orange, that will indicate that it is heating up successfully. Now if you've got a hookup you can work on electricity instead, and that's that one. And the blue lightning symbol comes on there. Now it's turning orange to let you know that it's firing up. So those dots across the top just indicate how much voltage it's getting. Now it's currently got both gas and electricity lit, and you can run the heating or the hot water off both, and it's quicker that way. So if you do have a hookup but you're cold, you want to get warm in a hurry, put them both on and it'll be quicker. And then once you're warm enough, turn the gas off, and then it'll just keep you topped up based on the electricity. And as I say, you can just adjust the temperature like this. When you want to turn it off, just keep pushing the minus button until you get down to frost protect, and then turn off any power supply that you've got, the gas or electricity. Now the hot water works in a very similar way, so give it a wave to wake it up, and this indicates we're currently on frost protect, so essentially off. Now to turn on the warm water, this time we just got two settings. Push the plus and you'll see a little symbol up here. This indicates warm, so eco if you like. It's about 45 degrees. So for most people for showering, that's enough. And these lights will gradually build up, and when they reach that leaf symbol, that indicates that it's reached the temperature you've set and you're ready to have your shower. If the water's not hot enough, you can just push plus again, and it goes to the top setting here, which is about 50, I think, 55 degrees. And again, the bars will gradually work around until they reach that symbol, and at that point, that's when you know that it's hot enough. And the same deal down here. You can operate it from gas, you can operate it from electricity, or you can operate it from just one or the other. Again, it goes orange while it's heating up. So again, if you want hot water in a hurry, turn them both on. Once it's got to where you want it to get to, turn the gas off to save your gas and use the hookup. To open the fridge, pull the handle towards you. There's a freezer section at the top. If you find that this door doesn't open because it's jammed, it just means you've recently opened it. It needs a little time to repressurize, 2 minutes maximum, but usually 30 seconds or so. So don't force it, just give it a few moments. And then in the bottom, you've got a separate drawer which contains the drinks chilling cabinet. You can move that barrier around to hold your drinks upright. You'll see that the oven tray is stored in here because it rattles around less than it does in the oven itself. If there's a blue light in the power button on the left, that means the fridge is on. And if there's nothing in these lights, it means it's happy, it's working successfully. If you wanted to turn the fridge off completely, you just hold down the power button for 3 seconds. To turn it back on again, hold down again for another 3 seconds. This fridge can run from the engine battery when you're driving, or the alternator. It'll run from hookup if you've got electric hookup, and it'll run from gas if you don't have electric hookup. Now it automatically chooses between those 3 power sources, so most of the time you don't have to think about it. But you can tell what it's doing. And the way you do that is pushing this square button, and some symbols come up. The A means it's in automatic mode. It will choose automatically the right power source. The plug means that in this case it's running off the electric hookup. This fades after a second. Just push the square button to reactivate. And the lights on the right hand side, that's indicating the temperature of the fridge between 1 light and 5 lights. 5 is the coldest. Cold 5 bars, that will freeze your vegetables potentially, particularly lettuce, so I tend to leave mine on 4 bars. And when the engine is running, you'll see this battery symbol lit up, which means it's running from the engine battery. And finally this one, the flame symbol, means it's running on gas because I've turned the engine off and I don't have electric hookup. If everything's flashing like this, it means that it can't find a power source. So you've turned the engine off, you've arrived at your site, there isn't a hookup. You've turned your gas on, but the fridge is saying it can't operate from the gas for some reason. It's just because during driving the gas has gone back down the pipe and the fridge can't see it. So what you do to resolve that is, first of all, make sure that your gas is switched on. Light a hob which will pull the gas through the system. Just a couple of seconds is fine. And then turn the fridge off and back on again. So hold down the power button 3 seconds, it turns off. Hold down another 3 seconds, turns back on again. And that'll force it to check again, and now it's found the gas. Now if that doesn't work and it's still not selecting gas, it's still flashing at you, then you can set the fridge to manually work off a particular power source. In other words, you take it out of automatic mode. To do that, push the square button. It's currently saying it's running on automatic. Hold the button down for 3 seconds. Push the right hand arrow and you can tell it to work off hookup or engine battery or gas. Most likely you'll be choosing gas. Push the square button again to select. This is also where you can adjust the temperature of the fridge. So to go colder, it's right arrow. To go less cold, it's left arrow. I'm going to leave it on 4. Push again. So this is now operating on gas in manual mode, so the A is missing. And it's working fine now. But we don't want to leave it in manual mode, because then when you turn off the gas and leave your campsite and start the engine, it won't automatically switch to engine mode, and that means your fridge will be off. So once we've done this and we're happy it's now working on gas as we want, push that button 3 seconds again, go left, 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 back to automatic mode, push again, Happy with the temperature, push again. And now we're back in automatic mode and working off gas. To operate the hob, just make sure that the gas is turned on at the gas bottle, and then push and rotate one of the gas rings. You can hear the sparker going, it's automatic. Let go after 5 seconds or so, and then you've got gas. To turn off, rotate back to 0, and the gas will be cut off automatically and the flame goes out. Make sure that the 0 is lined up with the 0 on the control panel there, just to make sure the gas is fully switched off. Now, you will have a hot hob here if you've been doing a lot of cooking, so leave the lid up for a little while to let it cool off before you lower that. Make sure you travel with the lid down. It will rattle a bit during travel, so you can put a tea towel under the edge of it. That helps a lot. The gas oven also has a grill. To use the grill, turn the knob in the clockwise direction for the flame symbol. Push this in, which releases the gas, and then push the sparker button. After a few seconds, let go of the sparker, but keep the knob held in for 10 seconds or so, and then you can release and it will stay on. And that's the hob, and that is a flame at the top of the oven there. To light the oven, just go the other way, push in to release the gas, sparker again, and then keep this held in for 10 seconds or so. Then you can let go, and the oven flame is at the bottom at the back there. Obviously you can adjust the temperature to the gas mark that you require. Turn the oven or hob off, rotate to 0, and the flame will go out automatically. First we need to pull the television away from the wall. So there's a zip tie you'll find down the back here with a little metal ring on the end. Pull that upwards, that releases the catch, and then you can pull the TV away from the wall so that you've got a comfortable viewing angle. Now the only thing about campervan TVs that's really any different from a domestic one is that every time you move you have to retune it. So first of all, to turn it on, you can see you've got a red standby button there. For the television to work, you've got to have the main power control on. And we'll turn the television on using the power button here. The light goes green and the television starts up. Now chances are you'll get this no signal indicator when you first start it up. So to tune it in, first of all, we're going to use the remote control here, and you want to push that menu button there, and you get this menu coming up, and then we're going to push the down arrow on the rotary switch here to auto tuning, and then push OK in the middle there, and then down again to UK, push OK again, and now it'll start looking for programs, and in 5 minutes or so hopefully it'll leave you on a channel. It's a little bit hit and miss in motorhomes as to how much channels you'll actually get depending on where you are. And to bring up the channel guide, it's this pop menu button, and then of course up and down for channel selection. Everything else is the same as a domestic television. 3 windows in the van work the same way. You just open them by rotating these upwards, pushing out, and you can tighten or loosen the hold using the flywheels there. So, and then to close again, obviously just loosen these off, window falls in, and secure it like that. Now there is also a ventilation position. If you close it between the 2 plastic tabs there in that notch, a little bit of air coming in through the gap, but the window is still secure. Also blinds on all of these windows, so if you pull the blind down like this, you've got blackout blind, and if you pull it again from the top, there's a built-in insect blind, so you can vary exactly what you want. Above the cab here, this one also opens, and there are 4 handles on this one, 2 on the side and 2 on the top. So we open those up and then push, and again you tighten off these flywheels to hold it open. And likewise, just like the other windows, there's an insect blind. They're separate this time. Insect blind comes down from the top of the window, and the blackout blind comes up from the bottom. It's really important. If you leave the van in the daytime with this blind closed, it can actually flex and melt warp the screen itself. So what you need to do is, if you're leaving it during the daytime in hot weather, just leave a gap at the top so that it doesn't build up too much heat between the blind and the window. There's also an electric extractor fan in here. Now, you don't have to have it powered. You can just open it as a roof hatch. So to do that, you want to turn this clockwise, and you might be able to see through the fan there that the vent is opening, bit of blue sky. You can open that to whatever angle you may choose. So if you do want it actually powered, you need to have the power on the control panel and then push this button. The one on the right there, that one is the extractor, and each time you push that button it becomes more powerful. And there are 6 settings in total indicated by these 3 lights. So the first one gets a bit brighter, second light comes on, third light. To turn it down, you push the opposite button here, like that. Now if you want to have air sucked in electrically, then it's just this side, and again it has 6 settings, just reverses the fan. And again you can turn it down using the opposite side, and when you're done you can turn it off. There's also, in the side here, is the blackout blind. It opens halfway or full way for night time. To get ventilation in your bathroom, you can just pull down this fly screen. And there are 2 handles there, and all you do is you squeeze the black trigger and then push up. Do the same thing on the other side, and it's a pop-up ventilation. Above the bed there's a ventilation hatch with a fly screen that you can just pull down there. And to open it up, just grab the handle here and you're squeezing in this grey section and then pushing firmly upwards like that. So you need to squeeze it quite hard to get it to work. You can then close the fly screen again, and you've got a blackout blind here if required. Now the panel for the electric bed is above the fridge. You'll need to make sure you've got the power on to operate this, and all you do is you push that down button and keep your finger on that until the bed is about to hit the headrest here, and then stop. If the bed tilts up at the front, it's just because the front seats are not wound forward enough and the bed is catching on the headrest, so move the seats forward. There's also an option to lower the bed down to sofa level to make it much easier to get in and out of. First thing to do is to remove all the back cushions, as I've done here, and put them in the cab, or above the cab you've got that shelf as well. Now lower the bed to the middle position-ish. Now put the ladder on, and that enables you to climb up and peel off the Velcro tops from these curtains. They don't stretch all the way down, so they have to come off. So just grab the edge there and peel off all the way along, and make sure that the curtain is laying flat on the bed like that, not dangling down the side where it could jam in that runner at the end. You want to do that on both sides. So both curtains are off like this. Now remove the ladder, and if it doesn't come off, just raise the bed slightly and the ladder will come off more easily. And then you're able to continue to lower the bed, and it will stop just before it hits the cushion, like that. Now put the ladder in the folded position like this, slot it into the lugs. That enables you to get up, and now you can move the curtains out of the way and make up your bed. Winding the bed back up is just a case of pushing this button. However, before you wind up, if you've had it in the low position, make sure the curtains are folded away from the edge so they don't get caught in the runner. Then remove your ladder, put it on the leading edge of the bed in the unfolded position, like that, and then push your up button here. Now you can leave your duvet on, but you must remove pillows. They need to come down, because otherwise they will fuse the bed, because the motor will be under too much strain. And stop just before you get to the top. It should stop on its own, but depending on the thickness of your duvet it might not. so you might just have to stop it before the ladder hits the ceiling there. In the locker in the bathroom you'll find these two spare pieces pinned up against the wall, and it's the smaller piece here that we're going to slot into this space here. And to do that you just need to lift this bit and you slide the other panel in underneath to fill up the gap. And there is that one complete. And now we move to the other side of the van. We need to remove this base cushion and then also the back cushion. Now these are held on with a popper, so you just undo the popper and off it comes. Put these two cushions in the cab for now. Now we see two more poppers. Undo those. And then this whole section will slide out. If you sort of grab it underneath the lip here and slide it out until you get this. Now turn this stopper here to release the back, and the back comes down like this, but you're turning it over and then dropping it into the slot, so you have that. Now we're going to take out this hatch here, and inside there you'll see this metal arm that needs to be brought down to support this section of the bed, so that underneath it now looks like this. Put the hatch back in place, and this hinged piece goes this way around and it will fill up this void, and basically this end will rest on here and this end is going to rest on top of the under cushion section there. So as you put it in, you just need to be lifting these two cushions to slide it in place. So I've lifted those two cushions and slid it in, and there's your completed base section of the bed. The back cushion that you've got on the right hand side there behind the driver, that just comes down and goes flat into that space like that, and the base cushions slide in front of it like this. Now the two cushions from the left hand side that you put in the cab, they go on this side like this, and the narrow folding spare cushion goes into the slot down the side to keep everything tight. And we still have a back cushion on the right hand side. If you need the length in that particular spot, of course you can just remove that and store it above the cab. So that gives us our completed bed looking like this. When you're undoing the bed and putting it back into sofas, there's just one thing to watch. If you slide this panel backwards and it doesn't get as far as the wall, it's just because you've forgotten to fold up the metal leg under here. The bar here is the usual one to move the seat forwards and backwards, but the one above it here is what you pull to release the seat swivel, so that you can rotate the seat to face the rear. Now the hand rests here are on a ratchet system to pull out the way. Go all the way down and pull it up to where you want, and if you want to release it because it's too high, you need to go up to the top, all the way back down again and reposition. As you swivel the seats, you might find that they hit the side of the van, or in particular the driver's one here will hit the steering wheel. So what you then need to do is to use the backwards and forwards bar here to move the seat further backwards, and then there'll be enough clearance to clear the steering wheel. It's a bit tight, but it works. There's also a steering wheel adjuster here, so you might be able to push the steering wheel further back if it's in a forward position. Don't forget to lock it again after you've adjusted it. Once the seats are turned, you can pull the table out by squeezing this trigger underneath here, and that'll release it to pull the table further outwards so that people at the front can reach it as well. To use the cassette toilet, just open up the lid, and you'll see in the bottom there's a valve there to close it off from the cassette below. You need to open that valve first of all by moving this lever to the right, and the valve is open. Now when you've finished, you've got a flush here, so you can use that. As long as you push that, it will flush fresh water around the bowl, though the water pump has to be on for that to work. Toilet paper can go down here, that's no problem, and you'll find toilet paper supplied in the cupboard under the basin. However, you can't put wipes down here, so if you want to clean the toilet, use wipes, and they need to come to a bin on the outside. So once you've finished, of course, you need to make sure you close the valve so no nasty smells come up. Close the lid. There's an indicator on the left hand side currently saying green. That means the cassette is empty. That gradually turns to red as the cassette fills up. Once it gets to about sort of 3/4 red, that's the highest you really want it to go before you empty the cassette. And you need to empty the cassette into the septic system, so either campsite, black waste facilities, or a public toilet. The shower is really easy to use. You just open this tag and the shower screen draws across and clicks magnetically into this slot here. The shower itself, just push that outwards to get water flowing. Hotter is up, colder is down, simple as that. So looking in the cab, first of all, there's a full tank of diesel supplied, so please bring it back full. Now down on the right hand side here we've got the lights control. They aren't automatic, so you need to remember to turn them on manually. That's side lights, that's main lights. And we'll now see the little green side light symbol lit. Now to go to full beam, you need to push the left hand stalk backwards, and that operates onto the main beam. Push it away from you backwards again and it will go to dip. Pull towards you and you'll flash. And that's also the indicators on the left stalk, of course. On the right hand stalk here we've got the wipers. So up for on, you can control the regularity of the interval here. If you go down, that's a flick wipe, and pull towards you for screen wash. And next to the lights there's the fog switch, operates the rear fog lamps, and that's indicated by a little orange symbol here. These two buttons will adjust down or up the brightness of the display. And this is your electric windows, so that's off. That's to select the driver's side. This is the passenger side. And you can then go up, down, left, right, and that will change the top mirror only. It won't change the bottom one, which is your blind spot mirror, so that needs to be done manually. Next to the handle on both doors you'll see the lock and unlock buttons. Those will lock the cab doors only. It won't affect the habitation door in the back, which needs to be locked manually. When you push the lock button at night here before you go to sleep, that will lock the two cab doors without setting the alarm. The steering wheel on the right hand side is the trip computer, so this button here on the right will cycle through various options you've got on the display there. And to go down on that menu, push this OK button downwards to go back up, upwards, and the button on the left is to go back to the previous menu. So the most useful thing on here really is to go down to computer 1 reset if you want to set the trip computer to see what economy you're doing, how far you're going. Push OK on that, and then push OK on all values and hold OK down to reset. Left hand side is cruise control. So to set this, first of all, turn the cruise control on using this button here. And display it says set. When you're going at the speed that you want to hold at, push this RES button upwards to set your speed. To cancel cruise control, just push cancel, and to resume the speed you previously had set when you're ready, just push the resume button inwards. This one's a speed limiter. If you wanted to set a maximum speed that you can go, push that button. It says lim set miles per hour. When you're going at the speed that you want to set as a limit, push the resume button upwards. In this little cubby there's a spirit level, so when you're using your leveling blocks, one person outside watching you go up the wheels and to give you guidance, and the driver's watching the spirit level to see that you're roughly level in both dimensions, left, right and forwards, backwards. The main reason for being level is the fridge doesn't work very well unless you're level. Here you can turn the traction control on or off, and here you can put it into eco mode, which shows on the display here. That will limit your acceleration in order to save fuel. On the left button here you can turn off the start stop function if you want to. So to move off, you need to move the vehicle out of park into D or drive mode. To move the gear stick you need to be pushing the little switch here behind the gear stick. So we can then move from park, past reverse, neutral and drive. And there's an indicator on the dashboard here which tells you which mode you're in. When you're in drive, you can manually shift gear as well by using that to go down a gear, or plus to go up a gear. The idea of this is to lock the vehicle in so it can't change gears. So if you're on a very steep hill in the Alps, for example, you want to lock it into second, you could use that. However, the Ford transmission is extremely good, and it's very rare you'll need to use that, if at all. So the M position, that's manual driving, so that's just a position you choose if you always want to be able to change gear manually using this. Again, it's pretty redundant. The neutral position isn't generally used. However, if you are caught in traffic and having to sit there for a while, it will avoid overheating the gearbox if you move the gear stick into neutral and keep your foot on the brake. So rather than keeping it in drive with the foot on the brake, move it to neutral, and that'll take some pressure off the gearbox. If you're stuck for a very long time in a traffic jam, you can of course move it into park, and then you can take your foot off the foot brake. When you come to a standstill, you're parking up, you need to first of all put the handbrake on fully and then move the transmission into park, and the car will remind you if you haven't put it into park. The reason for doing it that way around is the full weight of the vehicle needs to be held on the handbrake and not on the park transmission, otherwise it'll strain the transmission. On a similar vein, if you're driving and you come to a standstill, you want to go into reverse, make sure you come to a complete stop before you select reverse. And on the same vein, if you're in reverse and you're going forwards, obviously come to a complete stop and then shift to drive. Also, if you're coasting downhill, don't move it into neutral like you might do with a manual car. It won't save you any fuel, and it also means you've got no engine braking and no opportunity to accelerate if you need to get out of trouble. So no coasting down hills. And that's the automatic gearbox. The middle button on the key will lock both the front two doors, the cab doors, and also the habitation door, and a second press of that will set the alarm. However, what won't be locked by doing that is the two outside lockers, the toilet cassette door and the gas locker door, and all of those need to be locked using this black key. And the method for doing that is very simple. Just insert and turn. When it's locked, you can't push the button in. Now the water key is this little silver one here. That's just the odd one out. That's just locked like this. Unlocking is slightly different from locking in that the top button there will unlock the two cab doors only, but it won't unlock the habitation door. That one is unlocked by pushing this bottom button here. So just to summarise, it's really important whenever you leave the van to lock the main cab doors by pushing that twice. That'll also lock the habitation door, but then also to go around the van using your black key, and just to make sure that your outside lockers are both locked, your gas locker and also your toilet cassette locker, and of course that the water is locked using the little silver key. Fill up with diesel, you just need to open the passenger door and then flip this open, and it's straight in there, no key required. You're going to need to access your gas locker every day to turn the gas off while you're travelling. So to unlock, you need to use the little black key on the fob, turn upright, and then using both thumbs at the same time, if you've got both free, push that button and push the top one at the same time, grab the edge of the door and it will open, and there's the access into the gas locker. So here's the one that's currently connected. Now whenever you travel you need to turn this off fully clockwise, just like that. And then when you arrive at your campsite, obviously you need gas, it's just a question of doing it that way. Now you may find during travel that gas doesn't flow freely, particularly to the fridge, and that's because the gas is settled back down the lines during travel. Best thing to do there is light a hob, and that'll pull the gas through the system, and that should then feed the fridge and also the oven and the heating and hot water boiler as well. Now if you've run out of gas, you need to change across to the reserve bottle. First thing you need to do is to turn the gas supply off. and then we're going to disconnect the supply hose here just by turning this black nut. Now this is a reverse thread, so to undo things we're used to going anti-clockwise. In this case you go clockwise. Quite a long thread. Take that out, and the dust cap here goes onto the empty one, and again it's the wrong way around of course, so it's anti-clockwise. And then the reverse procedure, so you've got the reserve tank there, the dust cap which comes off in a clockwise direction, and then you hold the connecting pipe against the thread. You've got to hold it quite straight to line it up, and then you're going anti-clockwise. This needs to be done up as tightly as you can. There we go. And then turn the gas on that way. And again, because you've connected a new tank here, you'll find that there'll be some air in the system, and you'll need to purge that by lighting the hob, which will pull the air through so that it then supplies the other appliances. If you're on a campsite with a hookup, then you can use electricity to run your heating and hot water and also your fridge. Also means that your 3-pin sockets will then be usable with a normal 3-pin plug appliance. So to hook up, we need to slide that upwards, and your cable, which is in the outside locker, one end has a cap on, and you just use your thumb to open up the lid on the cap by 90 degrees, and that slides in there this way up. There's a slot above it where the cap will go in. You'll also see a notch there at the bottom which engages with that tab. Line it up, push it until it clicks, and now you're hooked up. Now, to check the hookup is actually working, the control panel isn't very useful because it says charging, but it actually says that when it's charging off the solar panel as well. So the fridge is your best bet. If you push this square button here, if you've got a plug symbol there, then your hookup is working. And if you're turning on your heating or hot water, now that you're hooked up, make sure it's switched to electricity. So at the moment we can see that we're on gas. We push that one, and the electricity light comes on. That's currently working from both gas and electricity. Well, we don't need that, so we'll push the gas button, and there we are. You're now working from electricity. And the hot water of course works in the same way. And when you come to unhook, it's a little bit difficult to explain, but if you see that tab there, you need to put your thumb on that and push it downwards. It's a little bit tricky, but that will then allow this to release. So it's this little tab there which lifts the cap, and of course don't forget to close it so no water gets in there. To access your toilet cassette door on the back of the van, first of all use your black key to unlock it here, and then you're going to use both hands with a thumb on each to push those buttons in simultaneously and grab the edge of the door to pull it out. Here it is magically open. So there's the toilet cassette. To remove it you need to pull up this blue lever and slide it out. Now, if you get to about here and it's stuck, it won't come any further. It's because the valve in the toilet bowl inside is in the open position. That's got to be closed. So what you then do is push it back in, go inside, close the valve, and now you'll be able to pull the cassette out. And there we are. Now we want to carry the toilet cassette across to our black waste disposal point at the campsite or to a public toilet. It's not too heavy, you can just carry it using the grab handle here. However, if it is heavy, there is underneath here a handle that comes around and it locks into place. Do this with one hand in there, and then you can just drag it along to your black waste point. So once we've got to the black waste disposal point on the campsite or to the public toilet, we're going to empty the cassette. You need to be wearing gloves for this, which are supplied in the garage of the motorhome. Undo the outlet pipe to 45 degrees, take the cap off, put that somewhere really safe so it doesn't go down a grate or go missing. And to empty it out, you want to use your right hand on this grip here, and your left hand fingers go into the little notch there, so that your thumb can push this button, which lets some air in. It's a vacuum breaker. Okay, so you tip up and the corner of the contents come out of the outlet pipe, and then when you're done with that and it's empty, we want to put some fresh water in here and rinse it out a couple of times. So to do that, pull this cover back, open this valve anti-clockwise, and put in a couple of pints of water in there, maybe sort of a third, quarter full. Turn that back, slide this back over, put the cap back on the outlet pipe, and then just move it around a bit backwards and forwards just to rinse everything out, and then empty it out in the same way through the outlet pipe. Do that a couple of times just to clear it out, and then make sure the cap is on tight. Turn this back into position and carry your cassette back to your motorhome, where we can fill it up with new chemicals. So in the garage of the motorhome, you're going to find the toilet chemicals, this blue bottle, and a bottle of water, and you'll have a beaker as well. What we're going to do is to put one beaker, which is 100 millilitres of this blue chemical, into the toilet cassette. Same way as before, just slide back the cover, turn the valve, and that'll give us access. So in goes our toilet chemicals. This stuff sticks to the edge of the beaker a fair bit, so when you put in your first bottle of water, just rinse it out a little bit, and you can use your fingers to clean it since you're wearing gloves. So here's our third bottle of water going in. It's just normal water, so if you don't have a tap at your plot, then you can just fill it up at the kitchen sink. And then we're going to close off this valve, slide the cover back over again, make sure that this is folded and that the end cap is on tight, and then simply insert your cassette back into the drawer, push so that this blue clip engages. Close and lock the cassette drawer. Okay, to fill up your fresh tank, which supplies your shower, your basins and your toilet, this is the entry point on the right hand side of the vehicle. You're going to need the small silver key to open that lock. Once you've opened it, it just slides up. And there's your entry point, and your hose pipe just simply goes in there, and you'll feel it grip, feed it in about a foot or so, and you'll feel the tank gripping the pipe there. And when the tank's full, you'll see the water spilling out of the entry like that. And of course, don't forget to lock the water. So in your locker you'll also find a funnel. The idea here is that if you can't get close to the campsite tap, it might be muddy or what have you, that you can use the bucket to bring water across, and then one person holds the funnel while the other one pours the water in. It'll take a good 8 or 10 buckets of water to fill the tank, but it'll get you out of jail. And the grey water waste valve is located underneath the power container. You'll see a label, and there's the grey tap. Now don't confuse it with the fresh tank tap, which will empty your fresh water. So to open this up, what you do is you get low down on the ground, and you want to open this by turning it clockwise, and any water in the tank will just drain out. Once it's drained, you turn it clockwise. Now larger campsites will have a drive over grate where you drive over, empty your tank and then drive off. Smaller campsites might tell you to empty the water where your van is standing. If they say that, then I would recommend leaving the grey valve open for the duration of your stay, and then it'll just drain out while you're having your showers instead of creating a big mud bath of emptying an entire tank. If you're on unlevel ground where you're staying overnight, you can use the levelling blocks. Now these you just basically drive up to one of these 3 levels, and you might do this on just one front wheel if you're on a dip, You might do it on both front wheels, possibly both back wheels if you're sloping down towards the rear, in which case you reverse onto them. And sometimes your whole van is tilting, let's say, to the left, and then you'd put them under both left wheels. So as you drive up these, obviously your passenger needs to be outside, talking to you through the window and indicating when you're about to go off the front of them, so that you don't do that. There is a level inside the cab, so the driver can see roughly when you're level. And the main reason for using these is to make sure the fridge is approximately level, because otherwise it doesn't work very efficiently. So to deploy the awning we need these three bits: the cranking handle, which is in the bathroom clipped to the wall, the mallet and the pegs, which are in the outside locker. Undo the black bit, pull out like this, and tighten off again. And then push the T-bar, a bit on the end, firmly into the awning, and then turn anti-clockwise. Keep winding it out until the arms are about this angle. You don't want to go straight, otherwise it could lock and be very difficult to close again. So around about there. Okay, so now we need the footstool here to be able to reach up to the edge and reach the legs in here. And these are spring loaded, so you push that backwards and drop the leg down, and do the same thing on the other one, and just carefully just let it drop down. Now we're going to let the lower leg drop down to the ground like this, and you'll see here a little ball bearing. You want to push that in, and that releases the third section of the leg. It goes down to the ground here until it stops. Further up here we want to push it up to support the weight of the awning, and then lift this tab outwards and push it flat, and that locks it in place. That's on both legs. Just put this peg through into the grass and bang down with the mallet to stop the awning from lifting or blowing sideways. You need to unlock the leg by turning this tab downwards, and then down here push the ball bearing in and lift up the lower leg until the ball bearing comes back out into this hole here. Now lift the leg upwards, rotate, step onto your stool, make sure that the foot here is flat, and spring it back into place. Do the same thing with the other leg. Awning back in again, put the handle back into the lug there, push, turn, and wind in all the way. To get the handle out again, you might have to wiggle it around a bit, but the idea is that you push it in firmly and turn anti-clockwise. You do have to fiddle around a bit, eventually it comes out.